everybody. Welcome back to Gyurdo Ranger, your #1 channel for ethical hacker resources and walkthroughs. Today, we're going to be looking at a box from TryHackMe, one of their new ones called Redstone 1 Carat. I just finished this box about a couple days ago. It's a lot of fun. It's rated pretty difficult, but you're going to find out after this walkthrough it's not as difficult as it seems. It does highlight a lot of topics with the Ruby programming language, which I am also an amateur at, but with just a little bit of persistence and taking a look at some, Googling and some techniques with Ruby, you're going to find out you can get through this room pretty easy. Again, if you guys are enjoying all the videos from this channel, hit that bell and subscribe to this channel, and we're going to keep pushing more and more videos out as new rooms come out. We're going to keep highlighting the new rooms because I think it's important to get it out to everybody as soon as it's available. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right into this box. All right, once we have the box started up, a few things are already greeted with this box. First and foremost, it says that we need to SSH brute force onto this machine, and they actually give you the user already. The user's name is Niraj, and taking a look at trying to understand which SSH password we're going to try brute forcing into this machine, they give you a little bit of a hint. The hint they start off with is by saying the password contains the letters B and U. Doesn't say it begins with it or ends with it, so that should give us an idea of exactly how we need to format a list of passwords that may be available to us, possibly using the RockU list, ensuring that it contains the letters B and U successfully in the list. So the first thing that we're going to do when we start this box is we need to generate a possible password list only that will work for this box, or at least that we think will work with this box. So our best password list that we can go to actually generate a secondary password list should be the RockU text. There were 14 million passwords in there. So what we're going to do, since we know the box requires a password that has the letters B and U, we're going to go ahead and run a grep command, a grep-e with the letters B and U from RockU, and we're going to create a new text document called allBU text. And once we create that text document, we're going to go ahead and sublime it so you can actually take a look and see what we've done now is created this huge list of passwords available for this box that only encompass the letters B and U from every word that was in the RockU list. So this is the password list that we're going to push towards this box to see if we can get access into the machine. The second thing we're going to do for this box, especially since is concentrating on a Ruby programming language, is I went ahead and went to GitHub and actually found a user on here, rcray, that actually has an SSH brute force Ruby file that you can actually grab and actually install on your machine. And once you actually have it on there, it's very simple to run, and you can run it against any type of machine instead of using like Hydra or Medusa. So I thought it'd be kind of interesting to run one against it, and it actually works really well. So I'll link this file to the description of this video. So once you have this file on your machine, which I've already put on this machine, you're going to run a Ruby on the user Niraj with the host of the IP and the actual document that you have of the allbu.txt. And once you click that on, it's actually going to start running through all of these different passwords on the box. And once you keep going through it, it's going to keep coming back with a red false. It will stop once it actually finds the password for this machine and will turn it into a green true. Give it about 4 minutes and you will actually find the password of this machine if you run this program or script on the box. So once we have the password for the box, obviously we're going to go ahead and SSH into this machine. And once we SSH in this machine, we'll go ahead and put the password in. And when we get inside of the machine, you're going to see that it will pop up with a shell, but it's going to be a very, very restricted shell. So we can see right now we are sitting in the directory of home and Niraj on a Linux system. But if you try typing an ID, you're not going to get anything. If you try typing in who am I, you're not going to get that. This is a very, very Z shell restricted RZSH shell on here. And it it takes a while to work through all the commands, but your number one technique you need to do for this box is you need to Google how to be able to get around restricted shells, and it's going to teach you how to work for all the different commands possible that might be available in Linux and find out the ones that work on this machine. Now, I've already done some of the work for you, and as you can see, the commands that are available on this machine is extremely limited, which is not impossible to work through this box, but you're going to see the only ones that work right now is echo, printf, pwd, and sprintf. That's really it that you're going to get. There might be some other ones out there, but I went and exhausted a whole list and additional characters. So using this, what we need to do now is find out what is going to work with us and start permutating these commands with additional other commands to try to get something to work and give us an idea of what we need to do on this machine. So since we know that echo works, the first thing we should probably do is echo a couple things on this machine to find out some more details about this machine. So let's go ahead and echo the shell on the machine, and let's take a look. And we can see right now we are working through a restricted Z shell from the bin file. Okay, not a problem there. Good to know. All right, let's go ahead and echo the path on this machine. And let's see exactly what path we're working with. So right now, we are working in the home Naraj bin path. Okay, that's good to know also. The last thing I found out doing a bunch of Googling is if you use the printf, you can actually get the machine to show you all the files in the path plus hidden files. And the way that one works is doing a printf with a S and a new line with a star and the D. And when you run that, that's actually going to show you a few other documents that exist in here that are hidden because they have the period on the left side of their description. So we have a cache, we have a hint.txt, we have a user.txt, and then a couple other documents in here. So this is how you need to start this machine and start working through it. So now that we know this, we can go a little bit further now, and we can actually try to figure out how we can get some information from the hint.txt and possibly the user.txt. This is more than likely where the user flag is now located. So the next step on this box, if you want to work specifically only with Ruby, and how I believe the creator of this box envisioned you working through this box, would be for you to actually run an echo from the bin and any files that are in there, and you would see that in there there's a Ruby file called test.rb. And if you remember, the path runs us all the way to the bin file, so you should be able to run this file directly. But what I also found out before I found this command out later on working through Ruby is I created a permutation of a bunch of different commands here of basically as if it was almost a programming language. While, read line, do echo of the line, and then feed it into from the user text to the line. And when you run that, it's going to feed that into that variable, and then all you have to do then is go ahead and echo that line, and you're going to get the user flag. So this does not require you to use Ruby, but I believe the creators of this box wanted you to use Ruby. But if you want to do it this way, I found that you could actually do it this way and get the user flag pretty quickly on this machine. So now that we have the user password, we need to immediately start looking for the root password. And to find the root flag, they do leave you a hint here. And the hint says, do in Ruby what you can't do in any other way. This is a little ambiguous, and we still don't know exactly what they're talking about. And it takes a little bit to find out what they're referencing. But if you actually come back to here, remember when we looked at hidden files, there was a hidden file here called hint.txt. So what we're going to do is we're going to run that command again that I had before, but instead we're going to pull the line out of the .hint file, and then we're going to go ahead and echo the line path variable, and it's going to say maybe take a look at local services. So if we need to take a look at local services, we need to be able to run a netstat on this machine. But unfortunately, because we are running such a limited shell, restricted shell, netstat or any other type of command that allows you to actually see what ports are open is not going to be available to you. So there is a way around this, but it's going to take a little bit of searching and finding a Ruby script, again, Ruby script, that's available for you to use. So a funny little update for everybody. I actually had solved this box a day ago and was working on this video, and all of a sudden, when I was finishing up this video and doing the commands, all of a sudden it wasn't working anymore. So I got on the net with Niraj, the actual author of this box, and he had informed me that some individuals, including myself, had found ways around this box to get to the root password that was not intended. So he had to further restrict and further lock down this box. So now what I'm going to show you is, after taking another day to come in this box and figure out the path around his further restrictions, I'm going to show you now exactly what you should be doing next. So back where we left off, where we're going for the root flag, again, Ruby, Ruby, Ruby. So if you remember, when we were taking a look at through this box, if we ran an echo from the bin and saw what all files are in there, there is a test.rb file. And if you actually echo the test.rb file, excuse me, not the test, not echo it, but if you just type in the test.rb, it will show you the program, very small program that's written in Ruby. It takes 3 arguments, and a lot of them are very system-based. I'm not going to go through the details of what this small program does, but if you run enough Google queries and take a look at some stack, overstack, you'll find exactly what this Ruby file does. So what we're going to do originally was that we were going to pull another shell and try getting the kernel in the system to read from that shell. But that now is further restricted. So before, the old way to do this, and I'll show you the original solution I had, was to run a kernel to the system, and we were going to pull that from the original bin/shell. Now, that does not kick a shell for you with this program. So we need to figure out exactly how we can still get out of this restricted shell. And there is a way to do it, but it took a little bit to find it. The way to find it is you need to understand the deep workings of Linux and understand where most of these modules come from. And with that, there is also another area in Linux called the klibc library that has another bin with modules in it. So echo does work on this machine, so you can run another echo and use this path here and take a look at it, and you will see that there is a large list of pretty you're looking at a lot of modules that should be reminiscent of what you use a lot. There's cat in here, There's sync in here, there's umount in here, there's run init mount. So there's a lot of modules in here that would be very good for us to use, but we can't because we're restricted. But if you take a look a little bit closer, you'll see there is one in here called shell.shared. So what we can instead do is we can go back to the system original command we did, and now let's go ahead and grab this one here, and let's drop it in here. And when you run it, it'll now kick you out of the restricted shell and now into this shell here. And then we can go further. So now we're out of the restricted shell. So this is how you get out of the restricted shell. Now, once we're out of the restricted shell, since we have a lot more commands available to us, if you remember when we were in here, we could echo the path, and all we were given was Niraj and Ben. We need to add a lot more to that so we can actually start using a lot more usual commands, and to be able to further enumerate this box and get to finding the local services. So what we need to do is we need to export the path, and we need to, we need to export the path and add a bunch of the modules. We need to add the sbin in there. We need to add the bin and the other bin from sbin. So once we do that, we can add that into here. We can echo the path, make sure that this took. And now all that has been added into there. So once that's been added into there, and we are now out of the restricted shell, and we have other commands because of the additional path that's been added, we can now find out where we are, which is Niraj. We could probably run an ls now, which we can. So there we got an ls. We can actually probably run an lsal. Okay, we see there's a couple directories in here with the bin, so let's see if we can traverse. So we're going to go ahead and traverse over to the bin, and we're going to run an lsal on there. And there we go. So it looks like we have the full ability now to traverse this machine to see now if we can get the local services that are running on this machine. So once we have this shell, we need to now pull up the local services and what ports are listening on this machine as the next step. So since this machine does run Ruby, what you can do is you can go to GitHub, and you can go ahead and grab on your local machine a netstat.rb Ruby file that'll actually allow you to run netstat on this machine, since you don't have the command available to you. But the question is, how do you get it on this machine? You can't really drop it in with SCP because SCP is not available. We've tried it. But what you can do is you can run an FTP from the remote machine onto your local computer. I'm running VSFTP. I started the service on my local machine, and I'm going to load in Kali. I'm going to put my password into my machine, and then I'm going to change to my desktop into my tools folder, and I am going to go ahead and get the netstat.rb file that I dropped in to that folder. Now, once I have the file, I can go ahead and stop the service. I can run an lsal. I now have the netstat file on there. And then what I can do is I can run a Ruby netstat.rb, and it's going to enumerate all of the ports listening on this machine. Now, once you have all the ports listening on the machine, you're going to have to go to another step and be able to find out which specific listening port that you can leverage. And the next step we're going to show you actually uses netcat. So what we're going to do with netcat is we're going to run a netcat on the local system on a specific port you will figure out. And once you have that, it's going to bring up another shell. And what you're going to drop in there is you're going to execute a copy of the bash to a temporary folder for bash, and then you're going to change the rights for this bash service and drop it on in. So now what you can do is you can go ahead and run an ls on the temp file, and you'll see that the bash is sitting in there. And then go ahead, and what you want to do is you want to go ahead and run that bash with the option P on. You're going to bring it over, and now, oops, excuse me, now you should have full rights for this user with root. And then you should be able to get over to root. And then you should be able to cat the root.txt file and grab your flag for the root flag. Drop your root flag in, and that should complete the box for you. So again, this box is pretty difficult, especially working with restricted shells. It's a lot of fun, and it actually took me a little bit to figure out the next way of figuring this box out. I figured it out one way, worked it with Niraj on Discord, found out it was the wrong way. He went ahead and redid the box again with more restrictions, which was even more fun to do, and was able to get back in the box, and I was able to do this video for a walkthrough. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, if you're enjoying these videos and these new boxes, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Hit that bell. I'm always looking for more subscribers to support this channel so we can get more videos out to you all. And with that, we're going to go ahead and end this video. Want to give a shout out to Niraj. He did a great job with this box. It's a lot of fun. And with that, this is Gyarados Ranger closing out. Hope you guys have a good one, and stay safe and stay secure.